All right, welcome everybody to the future of chiropractic. I'm super excited to be joined today by Twisty, Tristan Schwab. If you have never met him, he is a genius in this profession on helping doctors understand what's working, what's not working, whether it be marketing or now his latest venture, chiropracticresults.com. Super excited for him to give some insights into what they're doing in the profession to help advance and take the profession to the next level. And that's exactly been my entire purpose and premise with Lucro from day one. And I realized we have the greatest healthcare product in the world. We have amazing people. We have an incredible purpose, but we're lacking profit. And that's what Lucro means, is profit in Italian. And that's the whole premise that we're trying to accomplish, is to help doctors understand their numbers better so that they can continually reinvest back into their businesses, deliver incredible healthcare, get amazing results, and change more people's lives. And so that's always been the underlying goal of Lucro, is to aggregate data so that we can help advance the profession to the next level. And so we're super, super excited to announce the coming out of the first annual Lucro Report. And this is going to be a combination of all the data that we have in our software now, about $500 million of annual clinic revenue, what everyone's spending on marketing, on team, on overhead, what organizations are they utilizing, what are the top performers doing differently than the average performers. And so this is going to give massive insights and value for the profession as a whole that our industry has never seen before. We always have he said, she said, this coaching group's doing that, this organization's doing that, this random person I met at a conference, claims that they're seeing these numbers, but there's nothing really been verified. It's been subjective, reports, maybe some things from chiropractic colleges, but nothing like what we're going to come out with the Lucro Report. So today is really going to be an incredible teaser of some of the huge value that's going to be able to come out in this report. And then we also have the opportunity for you all to give your feedback of exactly what all you want to see in the report. We have so much data in the report. We could produce hundreds of pages of data, but we really want to focus on what do you care about? What do you specifically want to see to help your own clinic and to help this profession advance to the next level? So what I'm going to do is jump right in to the data, jump right into the numbers, what we're seeing right now, and then we're going to give you guys an opportunity to give us some insights into what exactly you all are looking for yourselves. All right, well, let me just jump right into it. Okay, this is the average clinic we have inside of the Lucro software right now, just under the $1 million threshold. When we first launched, our average clinic was about $1.2 million our first year that Lucro existed. Now we've gone just under $1 million for the average clinic inside of our software. And you can see this is the average amount that's being spent on each of these categories. About 6% of revenue per month is going back into products. About 8% is going into marketing, almost 30% going back into team, and that is with subtracting out any owner pay from that. Practice costs about 7%, overhead 15%, business development, which we like to classify that as kind of those fringe benefits that you're doing that may or may not be very strict business expenses that you're running through your practice. That's a huge value add that we do for Lucro clients so that they can really understand what is their true profit margin versus their taxable profit margin, because most people only get value from bookkeepers the one day a year they file taxes, whereas we want to give value 364 days a year to help you grow and scale your clinic, most importantly. And then the one day a year you file your taxes, you also pay the least amount in taxes possible. So on average, you're seeing about a 25% profit margin across the board with the clinics, $20,000 in profit. Now, Twisty, a big eye-opening thing for me on here was probably the profit margin. I heard from a lot of doctors, growing up, going through chiropractic school, that most of them are generating closer to 40 to 50% profit margin. So again, not sure if that was just more of a lie or, people boosting their numbers, so that's something that's, definitely a lower overall profit margin than what we really actually thought there was going to be originally.
Do you think it's also them living out of their own bank accounts and not being structured from a business to personal side?
That's definitely a factor. And like I said, we try and, and obviously with regular bookkeeper, they might not categorize those as well, but we try and, like I said, do a little bit better job of cleaning all that up and have a better
The
understanding.
biggest thing, all my clients that work with you guys have turned them into real CEOs. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the big other thing that we found that we had heard before launching Lucro was the average chiropractor spends closer to about 2.5% on marketing. And so I think most Lucro clients in general, are clinics that are looking to grow, they're looking to scale, they're looking to get it to the next level. So, with the 500 clinics that we do have in Lucro, we're talking about higher level clinics, almost $1 million average, for clinics. So, right now we might not be the best representation of the entire profession. And so we want to get more and more data, so that we can have a better understanding of what Lucro clinics are doing versus, an average Lucro clinic is way better than an average regular, clinic overall.
Yeah.
And so, we have a subset of data. The more data we have, the more we can impact and reach into the profession. We're going to see where these numbers start to go up or down. Now, the other big one is clinic capacity. Twisty was just talking to me before the call started that this is something that Lucro really needs to trademark, because I think this is something that we've set a new trend on and a new mindset for the entire profession. Is people really didn't understand their capacity, didn't know what their current capacity was, they didn't know what their potential was. And so there was a huge opportunity. And that's one of our most key functionalities in our onboarding process, is helping doctors understand what is their current capacity, what is their potential capacity, and then how do they close the gap from where they are to where they could be. Because whether someone's schedule is 100% full or 50% full, their rent doesn't change, their utilities don't change, most all their expenses do not change, whether their capacity is 20% maximized, 50 or 100%. And so that's so very valuable, because there's so many fixed expenses, in our service-based business model, that it's so important to first and foremost maximize the capacity and the expenses you already have. Okay. And so now inside of clinics with inside Lucro, this is the capacity of those clinics currently. So what we found is the average clinic right now inside Lucro is operating at about a 55% capacity. In the profession as a whole, it's about 20%. The profession as a whole, when we've done these reports, and I've spoken at conferences, and I've done just the capacity calculations with clinic owners across the country, we found the average clinic is closer to 20%, maybe to 40% of capacity. By being Lucro clients, we can see the average is up to 55% capacity. But even that, if you can see, if you're only at 55% capacity, you're still leaving over $400,000 of income on the table on an annual basis, and almost $75,000 of lost profit on the table for expenses you already have. But on the high end, for clinics inside of Lucro, they're still only at about 45% capacity. On the lower end, 60% capacity. So you're looking at, again, $63,000 to $85,000 in lost profit in your pocket without most of your expenses changing at all. You could generate a lot more money.
A lot of money on the table, dude.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big differentiator that we're really finding, is that doctors have the capacity, they have the ability to generate over $400,000 more income, over $70,000 more profit.
They're going to confuse at first, because if they're not a great business leader and owner, they're going to confuse that with that means they need to work more. But if they work with a company like Lucro that shows them where their money is being spent and where it should be being spent, like, for example, marketing, it's not about you working more, right? I'm correct with that. That's
100%. This is not working any extra hours. This is not adding any more staff. This is not expanding your location.
Yeah.
This is none of that. This is same hours, same staff, same location, same expenses. This is what you're already paying for that you're not maximizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the 100%. That's the exact right way to look at it. I'm so glad you brought that clarity to this, because yes, if you want to push yourself, get to the next level, there's obviously even more potential, with scaling and growing and extra hours and working harder, the sky's the limit. But this is just the lost profit, the lost income of what you already are paying for and what you're already working for.
Yeah.
So now let's look at top 10% clinics versus average clinics. Okay. So what we do is we classify with our perfect P&L based off of monthly revenue bands. So zero to $50,000 a month in revenue, 50 to $100,000 a month in revenue. Okay, what are these clinics doing from a profit standpoint? So this is their monthly revenue, and then these numbers are their annual profit. Okay. So the average clinics that are generating less than $50,000 a month in revenue are generating about $159,000 a year in profit. Top 10% clinics are generating essentially the same amount in income or revenue per month or annually, but they're generating 78% more profit. So you can see from $159,000 to $284,000, massive increase in profit with very similar top line income. And you can see that across the board. Similar overall income, but huge. I mean, look at this one, almost double, 100% increase in profitability with almost exactly the same amount of average income. 380 to 763,000, just over 100%, 67%, 86%. So there's a massive difference. And like I said, and this was really coming back to that capacity. The top 10% clinics are maximizing their capacity way, way better. Rather than 20% of their clinic being maximized, they're maximizing 60% of their clinic. And so therefore, they have most of the same expenses, but they have substantially higher profitabilities with very, very similar amount of income, very, very similar amount of work, very, very similar amount of staff. And so that is the very first lever that we always want people to understand is maximize what you're already paying for. Maximize the expenses, the hours, and the team you already have first and foremost before you need to add a new software, before you need to add more team members, before you need to do anything else. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting on the table that you're not taking advantage of. What do you have? Any thoughts on this, Twisty?
What's coming up for me, man, is I think we gotta explore this at some other point or just broach it right now, though. This is bigger than just today. What I'm hearing and what I'm seeing is this is future proofing for private equity, which is on the table. Like we are now this is never thought this would have happened in my lifetime where we're at, guys, out there. But for your exit strategy, it's not just, scrimping and saving today. It's legitimizing your business and practices to ensure that you are bulletproof or exit proof. And I think that's something that just hit me today, man, is that again, I see the clients that are using Lucro. Those clients are the ones that are ripe and ready for the next 5, 10, 15 years of what's on the table of 6, 7, 8, 9x multipliers. Who would have thought that, dude?
No, you're totally right. I mean, we've done a number of evaluation services now. That's something that we've started to add in for our doctors is that we can do a full report of your clinic. If you're looking to sell a clinic or you're looking to buy a clinic, we have the best data to know what the valuation of that clinic is worth. How much should you pay for that clinic? How much opportunity is there in a clinic? Because when you're, buying a clinic, that's what you're looking for. You're saying, okay, can this clinic run a business? Can this business run without this, current owner, or is it completely dependent on that person? What is the current capacity that that clinic is operating at? How much additional capacity? What is the value add that a buyer can come in and bring and immediately take advantage of? And that's been historically very, very difficult for organizations or doctors to be able to figure out. And so then it makes it very hard to evaluate the purchasing of a clinic. And so, I know you were working with Dr. Austin Cohen, great friend of mine as well. That's something he's massively does is acquire clinics. And all he can really do is like, well, what's the assets? What's the equipment worth? I mean, that's really only things he can do a lot of times to value the value of a clinic because he doesn't have the insights. He doesn't understand most of these clinics aren't operating without that doctor who's the head of sales, the head of marketing, the head of operations, the head of finance, the head janitor, and the head doctor all in one. And so if we can really help these clinics run like true businesses and doctors be true CEOs of their clinics, then you're absolutely right. The valuation of each individual clinic and the value of our profession dramatically increases. So let's jump into the main drivers behind these top 10% clinics. Let's dive into some of these individual points. Okay, what's the difference between an average clinic and a top 10% clinic from a marketing standpoint? Top 10% clinics are spending 70% more on marketing. So they understand the lifetime value of their clients. They understand the return on ad spend break even point that I've taught in many, many master classes. They know exactly, hey, this is my profit margin. This is how much I need to, this is how much I can spend to acquire a new patient. This isn't how much my neighbor spends or that random doctor I talked to at the conference or someone else, they're spending X amount on marketing per month. They know exactly their own individual calculation. How much can they spend to acquire a new patient and still be profitable? When you know that number, it gives you extreme advantage, competitive advantage in knowing what to invest, where to invest, how much you can invest, because you're still trying to optimize the capacity of your clinic. And you understand that if your clinic is not running at 100% capacity and you can acquire new patients for less than the cost that they're going to give you in profit, then you're going to continue to spend more until you hit that capacity or you hit that ROI break even point to acquire new patients. And so the top 10% clinics, they understand this formula. They understand the math behind marketing. And so they are a lot more confident and they invest more into marketing as a result. What do you see, Twisty? I know obviously you're very involved with marketing space with lots of your clients. In the clinics that you work with that utilize Lucro, how do they have a better understanding of reinvesting back into their business?
Well, number one, they're not fearful, right? And I think that's the first place that you have to start as a provider. We all understand the pain of investing in money and not having guarantee of results in marketing is it's a science, but still there's a lot of testing involved, especially in this last year of changes from SEO and AI, and we'll talk about that. But I think the first foremost thing is the confidence versus the fear, right? And understanding understanding why and what they have to utilize and having clear indicators and roadmaps to this is what, again, I'm going to say it right now. Lucro is standardizing what true bookkeeping and more in chiropractic. It's not just bookkeeping, obviously. It's really business management. And my take is that first fear is gone. So they're confident in knowing how to spend that money, and they know that they should be spending more when they're guided to. I love look, no one's going to love that report better than me when I see people, they need to spend more on marketing. And I'm going, see, let's use your money. Give me your card. But everyone, I mean, it's I don't know if anyone's seen who's a client here on here right now, but if you've never seen the Lucro, they're just as a consultant, coach, advisor. I've always told Dr. Josiah that like every guru, every coach, every provider should be having this be a requirement for their coaching and consulting clients, because I don't know how a coach, especially a marketing coach, like it's the first thing that we look at when we're auditing and pre-gaming and strategizing. So we got to have clean books and we got to know what we can spend. You can't guess, right? Just like you guys don't guess with your adjustments. Well, some of you, but.
Oh, that's good. All right. So next big category is team. So now you're seeing the inverse. The average clinic is spending almost 40% on team, where a top 10% clinic is about 30%. So big swing here on team. And really, like I said, this is a percentage of revenue. So what this is telling us again is that top clinics are maximizing their team better. They're maximizing their schedule. Your team is always going to be your number one expense in a service-based business. And so what we're seeing is that those top clinics are, since they're maximizing their capacity, then they're getting way more of higher efficiency out of the money they're paying for their number one expense, their team. And so it's not necessarily that their top 10% clinics, are spending less on team overall. They're spending less as a percentage because they're maximizing their revenue and their profitability of the team that they already have. And again, this is the number one talking point that we talk about in our onboarding process is we calculate not only your capacity of your clinic, but your capacity of your team, because your team is your number one expense, way more expensive than your rent is your team. And so that's the number one capacity that you have to understand and you have to work to optimize. And those are the top 10% clinics as they understand that. And so it has a massive impact on total profitability. As I was just talking about earlier, you can see that's where these top 10% clinics are just crushing it with a lot of these areas almost 2 times the profitability, with a very, very similar revenue because they are maximizing the expenses they already have. Now, the next big one is overhead, which is going to be a very similar concept, not a massive difference from 14 to 12, but again, you have a higher revenue, you spend the same exact amount on rent, you spend the same exact amount on face paper, or whatever it may be, software, but you're generating a higher revenue because you're maximizing your capacity, then your overhead percentage is going to go down as a net result. So here's the big overall difference that we found. When clinics typically start with us, they're only operating about 20 to 40% capacity. After 12 months, they've pushed that average up to 45 to 60% capacity. So 2, maybe 3x, their original capacity to where they are now. This leads to a 15, almost 16% increase in total annual revenue. And then that bottom line hits over $35,000 in annual profitability with utilizing us. So that's why, I always say it's not such a no-brainer. We're generating you. What bookkeeper has a positive ROI? What bookkeeper is doing anything just being a line item expense? Most people's bookkeepers have the same value, ROI as face paper. They're not doing anything to create a positive ROI return on the investment.
I really think you guys have developed your own OS, obviously, from, you're more than just bookkeeping. And eventually that term will come to fruition because it'll just be naturally right, whatever it is that you guys really are. But like I said, it's a hybrid of business management and obviously software and bookkeeping. But this goes back to the other question, the other thing we were just talking about with again, you guys are disrupting and creating a standardization because this isn't just guessing. This is based on math and data. What is it the best practices are doing? Here's what you should do too. And every chiropractor I know is, look, no one's disrupting chiropractic right now and creating spinology like Reggie Gold and trying to do something new. You're in a validated profession. Many of you are looking for the plug and play scalability roadmaps. This is what this is giving you, and it's making it easy for you to go, oh, this is what I should do, and understand, that capacity thing. Dude, my question for you is it clarity that leads them down to going, okay, now I know what to do? Is it a little bit of the insights and growth coordination and consulting? Is it a combination? Why do you think your Lucro people jumped and now grow capacity, which obviously increases profit margins?
Yeah, I think clarity is a great word. We always talk about clarity, confidence, and certainty. There's just so many doctors that are just operating businesses so much on gut feel. This is what a person at a conference told me to do. This is what my neighbor does. This is what my friend from chiropractic school does that we stay in contact with. And they're just guessing, and they don't have certainty. And so, then they get paralysis by analysis, or they don't pull the trigger on things that they should have pulled the trigger on too long ago, or they pulled the wrong trigger, and they made a mistake, and I don't want to do that again. And so a lot of it is just they don't have the certainty, they don't have the confidence, they don't have the clarity, in the data that's saying, hey, you definitely need to do more of this, or you for sure should stop doing this. And since they don't have that black and white compass, that's why I relate Lucro is we're like your financial GPS. You're going down the road and it's telling you turn here, take a left here, and 2.3 miles, you're going to do this. Up here, oh, you missed your turn, you got a U-turn. Hey, you made the wrong turn, you need to pivot. And so people are just going down the wrong direction. It's like you're, walking in the dark in a new place you've never been into. It's pitch black. You don't know if you're going to stub your toe, if you're going to run into something, what possibly going to be around the corner. And so you're timid, you're slow, you're, not taking steps nearly as fast as you could. If all the lights were on and you knew exactly where to go, what to do to get to your final destination at a much faster pace. And not only that for you as an individual, but what are the top performers doing so that you can have a clear roadmap, because most doctors that are trying to go, they're getting to every time they get to a new level, it's a new place they've never been before. They never worked at a clinic previously that got to that level. They don't have some big experience or somebody that they can just call on and say, hey, you're at this level. What do I do to get to this next level? Every level has new devils. There's different bottlenecks depending on the style of practice you have, depending on your locations, depending on your demographics. And so it can, be difficult to make very generalized solutions when there should be individualized answers. So that's what Lucro gives you, is very individualized, personalized feedback every single month. What's working, what's not working, where
Yep.
should you invest more, what should you do next?
Practice performance intelligence is brilliant.
That's he came up with that a while ago. Shout out to Jesse for that. But
Dude, I mean, so I'm going forward calling that because that's what it is. I mean, that hits the nail on the head, man. Kudos on that. And because
yeah,
you
so
way more than bookkeeping,
yeah, so the big thing is like I said, this has been my passion, is to help advance the profession. So this is what we want to do. Everybody pull out your phones, or if you're on a computer already, or on your phone already, Jesse's going to drop the link right now in the chat. Please go to this URL right now, so that you can really understand how we can help advance this profession. What we're looking for is your guys' feedback. Advancingchiro.com. That's the URL, because we want to help take this profession to the next level, a place it's never been. And we really strongly believe that can first and foremost start with the consolidation of what's working, what's not working for this profession. We have, like I said, about $500 million of annual clinic revenue inside the software. Our goal is to get to over $1 billion by the end of this year, 2026. But we also need some subjective insights. We could produce a 100-page paper report, tomorrow, but we want to know, what exactly are you guys looking for in this report? Do you want to know, demographics by state? Do you want to know demographics by technique? Do you want to know demographics and understanding based on the vendors they're using? Everyone that uses this EHR, everyone that uses this coaching company. We have the expenses of every one of these clinics. So we know exactly who they're utilizing for marketing, who they're utilizing for their website company, who they're utilizing for hiring, where they're spending their dollars, who are they utilizing for face paper, supplies, all these different things. We know all of that. So that's one of the big value adds too. When new clinics sign up with us, we just had a clinic that signed up with us, Dr. Carter, and he was spending 6 times more per month on his EHR than all the other people in our software. And we're like, hey, just so you know, your EHR, expense is about 6 times greater. And he's like, I had no idea. And this is my uncle was originally founded this clinic. He's been using this EHR. I bought in. I just thought that was the normal price for EHRs, and he realized he could save right there. I think it was about $4,000 a year just in switching his EHR to one that had all the same services for far less greater cost. And he just got Lucro for free, for his whole first year. And so those industry insights that we have are so valuable, because we can give people insights into what they're paying for, what they're overpaying, what they're underspending on. So, okay, it looks like we have tons of confirmed surveys submitted. Kaylee, Jeff, Alexandra, Emily, Riley, thank you all for that. But what I want to do now, Tristan, is I'd love to transition this now into chiropractic results. This is something that is an incredible opportunity, from a data standpoint of what are the results that we're getting as a profession as a whole. And so I want to give Tristan the opportunity to share more about chiropractic results. And that's really our conglomeration today, is between Lucro and the industry report and chiropractic results and the results that we're seeing across the profession. We know, we have the greatest healthcare product in the world. We know we get more miracles and amazing testimonials than any other healthcare profession, but that is not out into the public nearly as much as it should be. And so chiropractic results has really helped leading the front with that. So Tristan, let's dive in on that and go deep.
Well, dude, thanks first of all for you just being one of the best jam partners ever. I got to tell you, as a partner in this space, it's very rare that you find someone with the integrity, the brain, the heart, and the team. So you practice what you preach, and from someone who's promoted and partnered with Lucro for the last year and a half or whatever, I got to tell you, the other side of this is uh, there's never been as high of satisfaction rate with a product or service that I've ever recommended or endorsed. Now, creeping up there is Mark from Cairo Boost, but he's still early on in the game. But no one has had the track record of just overall exceeding expectations. And that's a great bridge to what we're doing. You know, that's the thing here is there wouldn't be chiropractic results without Lucro. There wouldn't be chiropractic results without Close for Chiro. There wouldn't be chiropractic results without our buddy Austin Cohen, who I'm at here today for his Chiro 180. You know, Dan Bay has proven where we got to meet and you got to meet the homeless guy sitting in the back of the room. Dan has proven that sales is a thing in chiropractic, as it always should have been, and sales solves everything until you get messy with your scalability, and then you can only sell so much and not have clean books and not have the right roadmaps and not have the right clarity, and that's where Lucro comes in, and you know you guys are putting the work in every day, and basically my hypothesis this last year was we're in the AI movement. So the 2008 to 2015 was all about yellow star shiny reviews, Google reviews, Yelp reviews, health grades. Still impactful, but not as much as it was. 2015 to 2025 was all about social recommendations, word of mouth groups, community groups, Facebook moms groups, Reddit, forums. And I believe, based on the last couple of years, as we move into more data-driven tracking and outcomes for our wellness and our own personal wellness and longevity, but also just the maturation of industries. You know, chiropractic, you know, is right where it's supposed to be, but it's ready to grow up along with some other industries that have grown up a little bit faster than us. But thanks to people like Lucro or companies like Lucro that, you know, we're able to now get into clean bookkeeping, clean margins, clear margins, real cash flow visibility, decision making without guessing. You can't grow what you can't see, and you can't scale, you know, just feelings. Well, that bridges us to chiropractic results. And it's undeniable. Now, we have proven that AI and old school traditional search wants this information, wants to utilize this information to help consumers and prospective new patients find the better chiropractors. And of course, that bridges to you guys with more new growth. So the public layer of chiropractic results is outcomes, improvements, conditions, real results from real patients, that people can understand, that AI can read, that search engines can trust, and communities can share. We're in such desperate need. You know, I saw the other day, and I made a post about this, Josiah. Like, if I see one more post about why a kid should go see a chiropractor, like, we don't need to tell the why anymore. Here's all we got to do. We don't have to say, trust me, I'm a chiropractor anymore. It's here's the data, decide for yourself. And the data is in our favor. You know, we can bet on chiropractic all day. Innate's going to happen in the right way. And, you know, we saw this in the financial space. You're a part of that with, you know, old school traditional bookkeepers are not going to make it because of companies like Lucro, because trust me advisors, paper statements, rear view mirror thinking, it ain't going to work anymore. That's why You guys are in the intelligence space, not the bookkeeping space, as Jesse said. We saw this with the automotive industry. We saw this in the real estate markets. Data is everywhere. Comp speed opinions. Zillow didn't kill agents. It just killed bad agents. So chiropractic results and the future of outcomes being indexed and used for public consumption is only going to bring the cream to the top. Data doesn't kill craft. It reveals who actually has it. And every industry
Good.
learns that eventually. Chiropractic is just arriving at that moment. So the chiropractic results platform, just so you guys know, you can claim a free profile. We have freemium profiles. I want people just using it. It measures, it proves. And then this is where it's ultimately, and what I think what this is all about today, what Lucro's a part of, what chiropractic results is a part of, is standardization, which is what we need to get to. We need to have better standards, and Lucro has created the better standards to be a better business chiropractor, to know your numbers and know what to do with the data. And then I'm going to say this, the future of chiropractic is predictive. Just like Lucro is helping to make sure that you have predictive cash flow and know what to do, chiropractic results is going to make it predictive for where patients should be going, what types of treatments, techniques, modalities they should be using, and everything else that we can possibly put in, which we're really excited about because we just dropped some new features like peer recommendations, before and after imaging, anything that better tells the story of the data that you guys have. So that's it in a nutshell, man.
Yeah. No, I really like your breakdown, from Google reviews, to testimonials and social media and now to
Recommendations.
data. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that you're spot on with that. I mean, I think that's so, so true, of just the direction we're heading into. And now we can
And
actually
and I
prove.
think ultimately, again, what you guys are really great at, we're talking about standardization, we're talking about being predictive, but ultimately that comes down to what chiropractic has always been and what Lucro is more than just a bookkeeper, your prevention. And we aren't in the world of, hey, I have this problem anymore. We're now seeing patients come in. This is the first time in the history of reported data, including social media, that you guys know this. Patients are coming in and talking about prevention and like it's never been a better time to be a chiropractor. You guys, I mean, what my grandparents went through, what my father went through, to have practices that had 500 plus PVAs and were at full capacity. They didn't have the opportunities that we had. So, it's a shame if you don't take advantage of these tools.
Hmm, it's good. Great perspective.
Cool. I don't know if anyone has any questions. I don't know what you want. That's it, man. I'm just telling people go over to chiropractic results, claim your profile, start putting some results in, and start leveraging that stuff for AI recommendations. You can go over to my Facebook page. I just posted today. I'm posting every day different case studies and different examples of how we're helping solve chiropractors ranking better, being recommended more, building that moat for their practice, how we're helping to fix traditional SEO and go past the point of, I went and did over 20 on-sites this year with all my clients, most of who are using Lucro. And here's the thing, 30% of your patients are coming from research, not their research, their spouse's research, their partners research, their friends research, and they're going deep dives on conditions. And again, why are we in the era of outcome and results? Because they need more trust signals than just, hey, I really like the front office. They're really nice. They need to see actual outcomes and data and real trust signals. So, just such an awesome time, man.
Tell me, give people a little more insights, Tristan, on how you're pulling those results out of their EHR. Like, how are you showing efficacy for these clinics?
So, and really exciting news, we are going to be releasing a double validation results and outcomes. So, patients are going to be able to start to leave subjective results, and we're going to be having tools and software that helps to grow more results from the patient-facing side. Um, but right now we have a SaaS tethering option that we can get into pretty much any EHR, whether it's cloud or server based, and we can help. Here's the problem, though. I'm just gonna say it. The reality is just like you've been doing for years with before you moved over to Lucro and got your money in books and cash flow in order, you were half-assing it. A lot of you are half-assing your notes. You can't do that anymore. But here's the good news. We have AI algorithm built into chiropractic results that can take 30 to 40% of notes and build them into case studies and metric-based narratives. We're already also taking your online reviews and converting that into that. That's another feature of the app that we just updated this last week. So we have many different ways to pull and get your results on there, besides just SaaS and tethering.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I think that's huge for a patient trust, look up, research. As you said, so many people are doing their due diligence before they come into clinics now.
And my thing right now, Jay, is this: chiropractic is everything. We don't have to put baby in the corner anymore. You guys, chiropractic is everything. It is the first line of defense. It is usually the last option for most people when it shouldn't be. It's a lifestyle. It's a philosophy. It's an art. It's a science. It mixes. It ranks. It's the most, as Dr. Josiah, if you've seen his, I call them commercials because that's how old I am still, man. But his Facebook, it's because they're well produced. But what do you say? Jesus and chiropractors, right?
Totally.
They're the greatest healing profession, and we have the results to back up. You guys have the results. Let's use it. Get your books cleaned up with Lucro, get your cash flow ready, get your navigation report, get your business intelligence for your practice, and start putting your work to work for you at chiropracticresults.com.
I love it.
Cool,
All
man.
right. Well, great finish. Yeah.
So, what are you most excited about with your report for the profession, for the Lucro report, the annual report? What are you most excited about
I,
personally?
I mean, personally, I really am excited to see what's the truth is. I mean, there's just
Yeah.
a lot of
Chiromath?
chiropractic mythology.
Chiromath.
Yeah, like, oh, this is what you were always told, and this is what you should be ideally shooting for because this is what some random person said sometime that got passed through the telephone game over the years. And so everyone's been utilizing these numbers, whether they're accurate or logical or
Yeah.
not. So I think some of those things I'm really excited to see what reality is, and the way we can separate the data, and really looking at the top, well, what are the top performers doing versus the lower performers? What's the differences that really separates a clinic? What is the bottlenecks, for a clinic doing 30,000 a month to get to 60,000 a month to get to $1 million clinic to get to a $2 million clinic? Like, what are those stepping stones, and changes that are happening along each milestone? I think that's going to be really exciting. And
Yeah.
then, you know, who can we actually correlate causation or just correlation of different softwares and vendors and organizations and, being able to say, hey, when someone starts utilizing this vendor or organization, how does that immediately uptick or change, their revenue or the production, of those clinics or people that are doing, all these different services, is that the best decision to spread yourself out and do all these different services, or people that have the best profit margin, maybe they're more simple, and
Yeah.
they're keeping their business model simple and scalable. So those are all, I think, very intriguing questions. There's probably
Predictive,
just going to be
that
some
word.
data that I never even thought of that's going to just be like, holy cow, never thought of that, never questioned that. And it's going to be some just eye-opening things that you didn't know you didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's predictive. That's the word. I mean, predictive, prevention, and standardization. And um, it's going to be interesting. I'm excited about patterns, another P word, of seeing where there might be certain trends and recipes from those successful practices versus patterns and trends from comparing the successful practices and that data that you have. But you guys, obviously, you said this earlier, man. It's like you work with a different avatar, and so you're not working. You don't have all the data from that standpoint, and this is why this is too from understanding like those clinics that are fledgling or struggling and the ones that keep me up at night. Uh, but man, I'm excited about this, dude. I'm really grateful for what you guys have done, and again, in helping chiropractic grow up, dude. Good job, man.
Appreciate it. Well, thanks for joining in here today. Dr. Emily said she really loved what you were saying. It made totally sense. She's trying to figure out how to apply it to her practice, and I think that's you're spot on as far as if we can really get,
I
the
apply it.
results.
I would stop overthinking and just put your results in and let it do its job. That's it. There is nothing to think about other than I can either put my results in manually. You could talk to my team about getting the software to automate it. We have all cool things for you from any level. Oh, that's really something cool. We talked about this, but I'll just announce it now. On that note, there's a freemium tier that you guys can do. There's also a utility tool that opens up unlimited results. So there's a cap because of storage. Um, but if you are a Lucro client, or a Close for Chiro client, or any of my other Spiz partner clients, you actually get that for free. Compliments of being a Lucro client, you get the $119 level for free, or you can apply it for a credit for any other tier levels. Much more to talk about later. But I would just say for Emily, for that question, nothing to do to apply it. Just put it in and let it do its thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Cool.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks
Hey, love
for,
you, man. Hey, dude, congrats on this report. Congrats on the last year of the date. Congrats on the success that you've helped a lot of chiropractors, and the turnarounds that I've seen with some clinics personally. Like I said, anyone who's a coach or consultant should be recommending that their people are on Lucro because it just makes you a better advisor. I mean, makes your job easy. Um, Thanks, dude.
all right. Yeah. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day. Appreciate your time.